So with the Battle of Umbara behind us, in our chronological run-through of the Clone Wars and battle analysis, we are coming up on some topics that surround these Zygerian slavers and their campaigns against the Republic. Now, it raises questions about how slavery continued to exist in the Outer Rim, and I figured today we'd take a look at the Republic's laws and the way they applied to the galaxy, particularly the Outer Rim. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So the factions that are about to come into play in several major battles throughout the Clone Wars really emphasize the Republic's inability to control the galaxy, and I figured this is a good point to discuss the way the Republic governed the Outer Rim before the outbreak of the war, and the way the Confederacy of Independent Systems treated the region after the start of the conflict. Now, one of the major elements that is about to come to play in our battle analysis series is the Zygerian slavers, a large faction that is basically entirely subsistent on an ongoing slave trade, something that was banned by the Republic, understandably. In fact, it's mentioned in several instances in the main movies that slavery is in fact banned by Republic law. However, it still appears to be practiced in regions of the Outer Rim. Now, anyone who looks at the political state before the outbreak of the Clone Wars would know that the Outer Rim is Republic territory and should be subject to the laws of the Galactic Republic. However, this does not seem to be the case. As we've discussed in discussions about the outbreak of the war and the separatist crisis that led to the war, the Republic had kind of a lax view on governing the Outer Rim territories. This was mainly because they were fairly unattractive economic zones. So companies didn't really want to operate in those regions as they were, once again, not very lucrative, and on top of that, they were farther from worlds that had standing navies, and since the Republic military, before the start of the war, was relatively small and pretty much useless, the area was ripe for piracy. So in order to make the area more appealing for industrial operations and large-scale economic organizations, the Republic decided to relax regulations on the Outer Rim, mostly referring to trade and other types of sort of industrial operations and economic practices. However, these relaxations of economic policies and military activity in the Outer Rim also led to a decrease in the enforcement of Republic laws out there, which already were kind of difficult to enforce, as many of these worlds were reliant on their own local defense forces to carry out legal and military operations, and most of these defense forces were relatively small and ineffective. The end result is that Republic laws basically didn't apply on a large scale in the Outer Rim. Now, major settlements might have had a larger Republic presence, but smaller worlds, backwater worlds, and worlds that actively opposed the rule of the Republic were likely not very effectively subjected to Republic laws, including things like slavery. We see this on Tatooine being an example of a world with a relatively small population and minor economic impact. The Republic has no control out there in that region, and practices like slavery are still very present. With the outbreak of the Clone Wars, a large, sort of organized faction moved into the area, the Confederacy of Independent Systems, which primarily operated in the Outer Rim. Now, you would think this would bring more laws and control to those regions, and maybe even snuff out practices like slavery in those areas. However, the CIS was preoccupied with other matters, most notably their ongoing war with the Republic, and didn't really dedicate that much time and energy to regulating the territory under their control. It's unknown whether the laws of the Confederacy of Independent Systems would have allowed institutions like slavery to exist. We can only speculate on what a peacetime policy of the CIS would look like had they won their independence. However, the Confederacy of Independent Systems didn't win, and as the Republic swept back through the area, it's likely that Republic troops, clone troopers advancing through separatist space, would have brought a wave of Republic enforcement through those areas, albeit not as intense as what you would see had the area just been under Republic control. After the end of the war, the circumstances changed out there with the rise of the Galactic Empire and the end of the ongoing conflict, leading to a new galactic government which had very different views on the laws its citizens should follow. Now, as many people know, the Galactic Empire had a very different view on things like slavery, seeing it more as a necessary evil than as something that really needs to be dealt with. As such, the Empire would actually practice slavery in the construction of things like the Death Star and other large-scale economic projects, which make it likely that the Empire would have allowed this in the private sector as well. And the Empire was, unlike the Republic, more effective at controlling the Outer Rim, as the Empire insisted on being a large military totalitarian state with authoritarian tendencies. All in all, the major differences come down to the political state in the galaxy and the sort of power and capability of the ruling faction, be it the Republic and its relatively weak military or the Empire and its massive military-industrial complex. If you'd like to learn about some of the other effects of the Republic's economic policies on the Outer Rim and the political state that led up to the Clone Wars, I'll leave a link up here to my video breaking down the Separatist Crisis, which triggered the start of the war, and really does tie into the Republic's sort of lax regulations on the Outer Rim, and the Republic attempting to undo that. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments what you think the Republic could have done differently to ensure that practices like slavery don't occur in places like the Outer Rim. How could the Republic have better used resources to engage in the operations needed to ensure that their laws are enforced throughout the entirety of Republic territory? And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, you can let me know down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.